This is a quick video about equals and hashcode contract. The contract basically says equal objects must have equal hashcodes. That means whenever you are providing a logical equals implementation in your class, you should also provide a hashcode implementation that is meaningful, without which your class will act strange and cause bugs when it is used in hash-based collections like hash maps, hash tables, or hash sets. So given that, it's very important that you provide a meaningful hashcode API as well when you provide an equal method implementation. So this was popularized by Josh Block in his famous Effective Java book, and he has discussed it very clearly in his book. So if you haven't read that book so far, and if you're a Java developer, I recommend that book. It's very useful and it's very easy to read. So now, anyway, let us see what happens if you do not provide the hashcode implementation. So for that, I'm going to go to my IDE and try to run a couple of examples and see what happens. So here, let's create a new test class called contract test. So in this class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dummy class called class employee key, and I'm going to use this as a key on a hash map. That's why I'm calling it so. So let's assume that the employee key has two fields like string employee ID and string date of birth. So let's create a constructor for this with two string arguments. So this constructor takes two arguments and assigns to its variable the ID and the date of birth equals, the field date of birth equals the date of birth. So now this is the key I'm going to use, which is the employee key class, and I'm going to provide an equals method to compare two employee key objects. So basically the two employee key objects are logically equal when they have the same employee ID and same date of birth. So now I'm going to implement an equals method. I'm going to just use ID as default implementation, and it says next. I'm going to create, note that I'm not creating hashcode implementation. So here, so IDEA has created the equals implementation for me, and this checks if date of birth equals the given object's date of birth and employee ID equals the other employee object's employee ID. We are saying those are both the employee key objects are equal. So given that, let's now go and create some test scenario. So let's assume we have an application that loads a bunch of employee data from the database and tries to build some kind of a cache using hash map. So now I'm going to write a method here called static map of the key is going to be employee key, and the value I'm going to put a string value, and that's a method called load employee cache. So let's assume some DB operations are done and we are populating a hash map of to represent the cache. So for now, I'm going to create a mock implementation, which is basically hard-coded employee key and values. So first step is to create employee key. Employee key 1 equals new employee key of employee ID, which let's say 100, and date of birth is 10/10/1984. So let's create a few more keys. Employee key 2, employee key 3, and let's add 1,